My name is Mayor Lisa Jacobson, and I'm really happy to be here this morning with you all. I want to thank our staff who worked so hard to put this event together, and for all of you to take time out of your busy schedules to be here as well. Oh, the music, is that what we're trying to cut? I kind of like it though. It's a little my vibe. For myself, I am also a small business owner in an adjacent community, I'll call it, and so I do understand, I have a unique perspective on just owning a business, what that feels like, what that looks like on a day-to-day, kind of operational viewpoint. I'm only a year and a half into my business, so it's real interesting right now. And so I've been really happy and excited with the work being done with our Business Forward initiatives, our work, leading up to and partnering with the Metro North Chamber recently. I really care about what we're doing in Brooklawn Park for our businesses. So I'm going to just start out and go through a little bit of information on the history of Business Forward. Business Forward was really created as a way of saying thank you for choosing Brooklyn Park as home for your business. We created the BFAB, or the Business Forward Advisory Board. That is a group of 12 businesses that represent a variety of industries in the city. There was a couple of years where I got to serve as the council liaison to that group and really enjoyed my time. Very dedicated individuals from our community. They really just serve as advisors to the Economic Development Authority staff on business-related topics, where sometimes, new policies that we're bringing forward, new programs and initiatives, we just want to get an actual perspective from our businesses. And so they discussed several items over the past couple of years, including having a chamber partnership and business association strategy, also feedback on our loan programs, feedback on our small business center. In 2021, we did purchase a mall, and I'll be talking about that next. At one point I remember saying, really, we want to purchase a mall? But then once we really started getting into the why behind it, it made a lot of sense. And I'm really excited about this project and how we look to create flexible, accessibly priced space, but also wraparound resources. When I opened my boutique, I really didn't know what I was doing, and there was no one to ask. You're kind of on an island, and so this will be a place where other businesses can say, hey, I started out, I learned this, or I connected with this bookkeeper, or, I learned this strategy around taxes, or whatever that looks like. So it's not just about the physical space in the small business center, but about those wraparound services. It's also culturally specific to BIPOC-owned and operated businesses and entrepreneurs as well. And so just really, again, excited. We did receive $1 million from the federal Friends. They came. That was a fun day. Klobuchar and Phillips was there. I think maybe Smith. It's kind of a blur, but it was great that they were able to see the possibilities of this project as well. We also have our emergency business microloan program, which, again, being a part of the BPDC, the Brooklyn Park Development Corporation, I see some of my BPDC friends here, having that, having loan options and ways that we can help businesses in times of need or when they're just trying to get going. These are some of the great products that we offer. And again, coming from having a business in another community where I've never seen them talk about one dime that I can access, including ARP dollars. We did the American Rescue Plan Act. We took $1.2 million of the money that we received, and we gave those out to 41 community-based organizations. And really, those that are working in the community provide a variety of services to Brooklyn Park residents, including job training, small business support, food distribution, housing, support to youth, to young mothers, and to seniors as well. We also have our BPDC microloan program. That one, again, has been developed to help businesses fund critical projects or to build business credit and payment history. Sometimes it's that you have a great idea and a great business, but you just need someone to give you a chance in the beginning to prove that. And so this program is really aimed at helping them. It was really modeled after the EDA's residential code correction program. So again, looking at things uniquely here in Brooklyn Park and being innovative, we are able to create this new program. And our commercial code correction program was developed by our Brooklyn Park Development Corporation as part of an effort to provide more low-cost financing solutions to businesses, where we literally provide loans with an interest rate of just 2% to make zoning and health code updates in their spaces. Rather than putting that burden on the business, who most likely would just close their doors, we're able to work with them to give them money at a low cost to help them get back up to where they need to be. So again, just really excited about all of the work that we've done, because Brooklyn Park is an exciting place to have a business, to feel supported, to not be on an island. And so I'm just really, really, really proud of that, and thank you all for your part in it. So with that, I'm going to call up Brianne to take it away. So thank you.
All right, so the next part of our agenda today, we have an amazing panel of lenders, so I will call them up now to come join me. We have Mackenzie Hopkins, who's the Senior Vice President of Core Trust Bank, Ron Richard, Vice President of Nonprofit and Commercial Banking at Bremer, and Kurt Thompson, Vice President and Loan Officer at CDMC Business Financing. And so I will actually let them introduce themselves, but my name is Brianne Rothstein, and I'm the Economic Development and Housing Director for the city. And this is one of my favorite events of the year, because it really allows us to connect directly with small businesses and medium and large businesses as well. And now we're back in person, which is a little odd. Driving here, I was feeling kind of giddy, and I'm like, why am I excited for the Business Forward Forum? And it's because I get to see everyone in person again for the first time after 3 years. So welcome, welcome. And I will just kick us off here with our panel. So I'll start with Mackenzie to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Hopkins. I am the Senior Vice President of Credit Administration for the Minnesota market at Core Trust Bank. For those of you that don't know about Core Trust, we are a fourth generation family owned and operated community bank. The location in Brooklyn Park that we have is just off of Zane and 610, up kind of by the Cub, for those of you that are familiar with that area. My job at the bank is really to kind of manage the whole credit or loan process, from underwriting through approval and then management of the portfolio on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Kurt.
Good morning. Thanks for coming today, and thanks for having me and the rest of the panel here today. My name is Kurt Thompson. I'm with Central Minnesota Development Company. We are a CDC, which is a certified development company with the SBA. We work in conjunction with banks and credit unions and other nonprofit lenders to provide fixed rate financing for commercial real estate across the entire state of Minnesota, as well as western Wisconsin and eastern North Dakota. In addition to our SBA lending, we also manage revolving loan funds for about 20 municipalities across the metro area and a little bit further west of here. CMDC is the first CDC in the state of Minnesota, so we've been around for about 44 years. And we are really truly an economic development organization And our job is to lower the barrier to entry for people who are interested in expanding their business or starting their business.
Thank you, and finally, Ron.
Yes, Ron Richard, I'm with Bremer Bank. I've been with Bremer for about 4 years on the nonprofit and commercial banking side. Prior to that, I was at another bank. I've been in banking since I was 17, so all my life pretty much. And so my focus is business development. So I work with nonprofits mostly, but I also work with for-profit businesses as well, and with the focus on affordable housing and economic development.
Thank you. I know there are also some people in the room who own nonprofits, just startup nonprofits or nonprofits that have been around for a while. So Ron's specialty in that will add to richness to this panel. All right, so the first hard-hitting question here for you after the softball is, what are you all noticing in the banking industry? And I'll start with Mackenzie.
The one word that comes to mind is change. I think every one of this room has experienced a lot of change in the last couple of years. But I think banking especially has seen a ton of change, whether it be from, with the pandemic and having to go a lot more digital. We were already moving that way, but I think it pushed people a lot faster. There's a lot of regulatory change happening right now. So I think change is the biggest thing that sticks out for me, and I think you all are probably experiencing similar things as well.
And Kurt?
I think along those same lines, I would go a little deeper and say right now we're in a rising rate environment that's going to be helping people make a lot of decisions that they maybe were maybe not ready to do. So people that were thinking about expanding, people that had definite plans are maybe dialing that back a little bit or just going to wait it out a little bit. So I think there's going to be some challenges ahead as it revolves around the rate environment. A bit of a correction, I guess, is the way I would describe it.
All right, and then Ron, what are you noticing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm noticing, the two things are the strategic planning and operationalizing their business. For companies that are already established, they're thinking about strategic planning around higher interest rates, labor costs, and things of that nature, so they have to figure out where they need to go and how they need to get there. So there's a lot of strategic planning around that. For small businesses that are starting up, operationalizing their business and understanding what that means, going from a sole proprietor or just a small mom and pop to what it means to actually be a real business. And so those are two of the major things that I'm noticing right now.
Great. All right, we'll go backwards this time, Ron, so we can change it up. So the next question is, what are some positive aspects of the change? What are the benefits and the good things about the changing aspects of banking?
I think some of the bigger things are, I was just talking to Kinsey about this, and we know what the gift and the curse. We know what the curse was of the pandemic, but the gift was actually having more conversations with clients and customers as a banker and really diving into their business a little more and trying to figure things through. So I think that's some of the positive things, and actually trying to build more relationships. I think the startup businesses are understanding what it means to actually build a relationship with some of your partners, whether it's your lawyer, your CPA, or your banker. It's so important to start that process early, so when you actually need something, you've already established that. And if what they found in the past is that if I don't need any money, then I'm not talking to a banker. I don't need it. And then all of a sudden they need it, and it's like, well, I've been having money sitting in the bank for a long time. Why aren't you guys just giving me money? It's like, well, I don't know you. And so they're understanding that process. So I think that's some of the biggest things that's coming from this is the relationship building and more conversations with clients.
And Kurt, maybe positive, and then I'll let Mackenzie talk about the negative aspects. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I think that this is going to create an opportunity similar to what Ron was saying, which is it's going to allow people to take a bit of a break, pause a little bit, be a little more thoughtful about how they approach that next step. And that is critical, and that is based on what he talked about, relationships, but it's also about understanding where you are in your business and where you want to take it, and just being very strategic on those next steps. The last couple of years since the pandemic, I think there's just been, a lot of growth, and people have been moving very fast, and I think this is going to create an opportunity for us to pause and to do some reflection, as well as just really be very strategic on those next steps, which I think is really critical.
All right, and then all the changes, what's the negative aspects of the changes?
I think a lot of the change is really good. I think there's, anytime you have change, obviously there are certain aspects of it that are not always for the best. If we're thinking about innovation in the banking industry, that's been really great, right? It's brought new players into the field that you guys are able to access, that you guys are able to work with. There's new digital currencies. There's all sorts of new things that have happened in the last couple of years. I think one of the things that's a little bit of a negative with that is when things move as fast as they did, sometimes the rules and the regulations and the outline of how we move forward is not fully defined. So I think that gives obviously an area for risk. Anytime there's new and evolving things, there's always an area for risk. So I think that's can be something that people are trying to get their hands on. And then I think the pandemic in general. Some businesses thrived. Some really struggled to get through. And so now here we are, we've got a couple of years of financials where maybe you were a business that struggled to get through that. And now you're like, okay, I've got my head above water and I want to move forward on next steps. But the last 2 years of financials, they don't look so great. And so they're worried when they come in that, the last 2 years are not indicative of how my business functions. And I know that. And so I think kind of going back to Ron's point is having those discussions early with your bankers. Don't wait until you need the loan. Come in, just have a conversation about your business. Let us get to know you. So that way, when it comes time for like, hey, here's where I want to be next year. Here's where I'm going to be in 5 years. How can I get there? We're able to have those conversations early to kind of offset some of the negatives that maybe happened in the last couple of years.
Well, I'll add one more since it wasn't touched on, but just the cost of money. The cost of money is more expensive. Maybe that's so obvious it doesn't have to be said, but I think that's definitely a negative aspect of the changing environment right now.
All right, moving on to the next question. What are some examples of adaptations lending institutions have made to be more inclusive in lending? What are some of the possible things that could be done? So what have you done, and what are you looking forward, or what could you do to be more inclusive in your lending practices?
I guess I can start with that one. I think the idea of banking for a lot of people is maybe what banks were 40 years ago. And I think what we've learned over time is that the cookie cutter, you have to check all of these boxes to qualify for a loan, that is something that's a thing of the past. I don't know if everyone understands that. I think that we've adapted in making sure that something that we like to say is that you have your square, right? That's your perfect credit, your perfect relationship, everything. We always like to say we get to play around the edges. It's really fun to work with businesses that are growing or expanding or starting out. And so, being able to really look at you for what you are, being boots on the ground in the cities where your businesses are, knowing what is impacting you day in and day out is really helpful in helping us make those lending decisions. And I think that's an adaptation that is changed over time, is that you don't always have to check every single box in that underwriting criteria to get a loan. And I think, things that we can continue to do moving forward is to educate people on that, coming to events like this, meeting with people in the community, and kind of showing them that you might not think that your business is the perfect loan candidate. It doesn't mean it's not true. There's things we can do to help you. And like I said, start early, because maybe those are things we can do in the next 6 months that'll help you. We can also partner with people like the CMBC or the SBA. There are options available that I don't think people are always aware of. So I think something that we can continue to do is to continue to educate people and just to be a person that you can come in, be a listening ear, and just have those conversations. I promise we're not all scary or bad.
All right, on to you, Kurt. Some of the things you've done to be inclusive, and then some of the things that you could do or that's on the horizon.
Sure, I think this is a perfect example of where an organization like CMBC can really play a role. So opening an opportunity up to lower that barrier to entry for any business, and to any entrepreneur who wants to get involved in business is critically important. One of the ways that we do that is to spread that risk around between traditional lenders and other nonprofit lenders and create opportunity through programs through the state of Minnesota and through the city of Brooklyn Park, for example. So CMDC helps manage one of the loan programs that the city of Brooklyn Park has through the Brooklyn Park Development Corporation. That's a great example of how this city is really dedicated to creating opportunity to people across the spectrum, no matter where you are in your business life cycle. And so that's just one example. The other thing I think that is critically important is to show up in, I always like to use the phrase, we need to show up where entrepreneurs are, physically and mentally. And so we need to meet them where they're at. And so those of you that are business owners in the room, we like to go out and meet you in your place of business, get to know you and to understand the struggles you're facing, the successes you're having, and understand how that relationship then transforms into your banking relationship and your opportunity to leverage what you have to create the vision that you have and to go in the direction that's going to make you successful over time. And just using all the resources that we have available to us across the state of Minnesota, through the state of Minnesota loan programs, city programs, as well as the federal programs from SBA.
Thank you. And finally, Ron? Yeah. So the question is, what are some examples of practices that Bremer has changed to be more inclusive in their lending, and what are some things they could do or things that are on the horizon?
I think what's being done is working more with organizations like LISC or ULI or META or NDC to cultivate relationships with the entrepreneurs. That's something that we're trying to do more of. I also think it's not a flat no. So typically with bankers or with lenders, they want you to be ready when you come in, because we don't get paid to be consultants. And so we want you to be ready, so if you're not ready, it's a quick no, and then move on to the next thing. Now, to be more inclusive, you can't just give a no. You have to give a no, and here's what you can do to get to the yes. I think that's where Bremer's becoming a little better at identifying that and not just pushing people off, because it doesn't create goodwill in the community when you do that. I think where there's opportunity is this idea of culture plus capacity. And we know banks have capacity. We have all the money, right? But we don't always have the people who are culturally understanding of the community we're trying to go after. We don't always represent the community. So I think Bremer is trying, and I think other banks as well are trying to be more inclusive with their talent and people who are in positions of authority to make decisions. And so by marrying the culture plus capacity, we can create a lot of magic.
Thank you for touching on that specifically, diversifying your workforce and bringing diversity to the lending industry is a critical piece of this too. So to sum up, what I heard you say is building relationships is really important, particularly before you need money, which makes sense, and really working on the edge of that box and thinking of creative solutions. And then I would just add one more that I've noticed is that bankers are getting more connected with technical assistance referrals. So really being able to say no, and here's a list of options for you to go get ready and come back, right? And we will be talking more about the technical assistance resources available locally and more broadly in the county. There are people in Purdue representing that as well. Elevate Business is the county's new initiative that we'll talk more about in a little bit for capacity building amongst businesses to be ready. So I'm gonna have the final question, and then if just as a precursor, if you all have any questions, be ready after this question. So The last one is, what can small businesses do to connect to your banks or, and to the resources that you provide?
Simple. I can be found on LinkedIn. I can pass out my cards. I'm involved with quite a few of the organizations, either as a committee member or on their boards. So you'll see me out there. That's one of the easy ways to connect with me. And I would say this: in order to connect, be persistent. If you're a small business, you kind of understand the idea of not taking no for an answer right away and being persistent. So we're busy. I'll be honest, and especially, being a black commercial banker in Minnesota is a unicorn. And so my time is limited. And so I get a lot of people contacting me. So if I don't reach out to you the first time you reach me or you try to get a hold of me, don't give up. The way that I got into business banking is because I didn't give up. They didn't think I had the education or the experience, but I kept calling, being persistent. And they said, wait a minute, this guy, if he's gonna be this persistent, then we better give him an opportunity. And so I think that's a one way that's not just for me, it's for everybody. Everybody's time is limited. So be persistent, and it's pretty simple to, like I said, to get a hold of people. We're all on LinkedIn.
You can reach me through the traditional forms of LinkedIn as well as on our website. I will be available afterwards to reach out to me, and I can give you my contact information. But probably the easiest way is to reach out to Malcolm here at the City of Brooklyn Park. We work in tandem with the city on a number of ways, I should say. And so that's actually the quickest, easiest way to do so.
I kind of just echo what these guys said. I will be here all day today. You're welcome to stop by. I've got a stack of business cards. I also encourage you to just swing by our branch. I mean, we are there all day, every day, and would love to sit down and talk with any of you. I've also got my branch manager here today, Jeff, in the middle of the room. He's got business cards as well, so give us a call. We'd be happy to talk with you and just stop by.
Great, and I will just say you'll hear more about business resources specifically from Brooklyn Park a little bit later in our session from Malcolm Hicks, our Business Development Coordinator. Are there any questions from people in the audience for our lending panel? One? Oh, two, all right, we got a couple over here. Nico? Nico's gonna come around with the microphone so that we can all hear your question. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Branko Tama, owner of Tama & Construction. We're in business for more than 6 years now. And my question is, how intentional, at today's bank as it relates to making a small business owner dream or vision a reality? I'm trying to say that most of the time small business can either be a vision or a dream that they have. They might not be there yet. Can you give me one example of what you've done as a bank that's showing that, this business had the vision and wanted to do that, they didn't have the capital, they didn't have the prerequisite, they didn't have business credit, but this is what we did to help them get to this point to make this dream a reality? It's something I would love to hear.
So a story or two? Is that what you're asking, like a story, an example?
Yeah, I think you get that example. I'm just talking for myself, been through that, and haven't seen any bank who have done that, to see the dream of a small business owner and help make that reality.
We have, because we have access to a number of different loan programs, and as everyone here on the panel has talked about, if you're a small business owner, you need to be scrappy, you need to be persistent, you need to be resilient, and when we as lenders see that, we're going to respond in a positive way. And so that's critically important. It's how you show up as an entrepreneur, it's how you show up as a business owner, it's also how you show up as a professional and as a person in your community. And so each of those attributes that I've just described are critically important. But when we see that, and when we see that dedication that you have, we're also going to respond in a like way. And one of the ways that we do that is to look for programs that are going to fit your needs. And Ron talked at the very beginning today about how it's critically important for us to have relationships. Ron and I share a common history, which is he actually was a business owner before he got into banking. That is true with me as well. And so the two of us can look at this from a very different perspective, which is we're also looking at our role from the eyes of the entrepreneur. And so there are many examples of where, as you've asked, how has a story evolved from an entrepreneur having a vision and then realizing that vision over time. But that happens through relationships, but it also happens when there's a shared commitment between the entrepreneur as well as the lending community to make that happen. And I could go, recently we just did a loan for a gentleman up in Anoka County. He's a veteran, and he started a small business on his own after his job was displaced, stayed in the same industry that he had been in, so he leveraged his skills to start a business. Then he had an opportunity to buy a like business, similar but not exactly the same, so he leveraged his existing business in a very short period of time. He didn't do that on his own. He did that by reaching out to people and working with people, leveraging not only his past experiences, but also his relationships. And there's an example of how he was able to create, really an opportunity based on things that he's already done in his life. And I think that's a great example of how we should all be looking at that.
So, for me within the bank, I can't say specifically someone who started from the bottom, completely from the bottom, and I helped them there. But as Kurt talked about, I started my own business. I had an ice cream truck business a year out of high school. And I worked with Mita at the time, and I got a bunch of no's. Wells Fargo told me no, US Bank told me no, TCF told me no. And, I just hunkered down, built the business plan, and just was persistent enough to keep going and willing to start small. That's a key thing. And I think when you asked about some of the negative things that's happening in the market, I think a little bit of having so much money available is a negative thing, because everybody sees the big numbers out there, so they want to do a big project right away. Their first project, they want to do a 50 unit, 100 unit building or something like that. They haven't even owned a single family home. And so it's important to be open to starting small, being frugal. And here's an example. So many of you know the name Houston White, building Camden Town in Northside community. He's done a lot of things prior to it. He's obviously a barber, but I met him in 2015, 2016, and he was just my barber at the time. And we didn't start out. I didn't come in and say, "Oh, can I get your banking from Wells Fargo?" Or him saying, "Hey, I need to get a loan right away." He had a vision, and he slowly walked that vision. He was doing certain things, building himself up in the community, doing certain small events, just testing the waters. Oh, look, I put on this event, this is how many people came in, this is what I generated. It wasn't gonna change his life, it wasn't gonna make him quit being a barber at the time. He had this vision, and I guess what, 5-6 years later, he built the coffee shop. He already had a coffee shop. It was probably about this big in the barber shop. And we would come in, we'd get coffee. Now you see, if you've been to the Get Down Coffee Company, you've seen how big it is now. He's doing great in Target. So to answer your question again, it's starting small and being willing to test, as opposed to just having theory. You can have a large theory because you've seen it. Hey, we've seen a 50-unit affordable housing building prosper. We've seen this market rate building prosper. We've seen blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's possible, and that's theory, but testing it out, hey, I'm gonna start a little smaller. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. And again, it's hard because I haven't really gone through that process with the business from ideation all the way to finish line.
Thank you. Malcolm, do we have time for one or two more questions? Okay, all right, we'll take one or two more questions. You had one over here, I think, too, right?
What I was wondering was, which one of your institution have, what they call the new, market lending process, and how do you go through that new market, lending?
You mean new market tax credit?
New market tax, yeah.
So right now, only one bank has allocation, I think, in Minnesota. Or not one bank. Sunrise has allocation. US Bank has an allocation. I don't know if it's exactly in Minnesota, but it's through their footprint. But banks and CDFIs, they invest in the new market tax credit. So for those who don't know what new market tax credit is, it's a, I call it when capitalism does good work. And so you have investors come in and they're willing to, they get a tax break for investing in the community. And new market tax credits are specifically for commercial businesses, not for residential. And so they can come in and it's essentially interest only. It's a large process. Typically, you want to have a project that's, to make sense, it needs to be about $3 to $4 million or above for it to really make sense, because the costs for the consultants and attorneys are pretty expensive. But to answer your question, Bremer does invest in new market tax credit structures as an investor, as well as we lend on it as well.
I would just add to that there's one census tract in Brooklyn Park that's eligible for new market tax credits. So there's also a geographic restriction on where they can be used. And it's, the census tract is kind of in the middle of the city in the Central Park area. It does go down to Brooklyn Boulevard there, but it's kind of a narrow swath. So I just wanted to add that too. Okay, there was one here, and then we'll finish with you. Or here, since you're over here, Nico, why don't you take your question, and then we'll finish with the question in the back. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tasha George. I'm also an entrepreneur and a speaker here today, but I do have a question in regards to establishing a business credit. We all, well, I don't know if everyone knows, but the process of working with Dun & Bradstreet and getting that number, which is very necessary for a business to grow and expand, is extremely tedious and is not transparent at all. What are you guys doing as bankers when small business owners come into you? You said I was back there, but I heard that you're being really intentional about different roadblocks and barriers that are helping people get access to capital. But it's not only about getting the money, it's also about establishing a business credit so you can grow. So what are you doing to educate business owners in regards to that aspect?
It's been brought up a couple times today, and we haven't really gotten into that, but there's this term called technical assistance, which is critically important for any business, especially those that are in a growth mode. Minnesota is blessed at having many opportunities for people that are in business to get that technical assistance. Oftentimes it's free. MEDA is a great organization that works here in the Metro. SCORE, which is the Senior Corps of Retired Executives, offers free technical assistance to anybody. They will literally talk to anybody. You can pick up the phone and call them, today if you want to, and they'll get you assigned with the right person. In addition to that, the small business development centers all across the entire state of Minnesota have access. People across the entire state have access to the small business development centers. They're put on this earth to do exactly that. So if you want help navigating that system and how to get yourself registered and your company registered on Dun & Bradstreet, utilize those programs, because that's exactly why they exist. It's super easy to navigate. In most cases, you can either pick up the phone or go online to get that information.
So Kurt, does that mean banks don't really have a strong role in
Well, I
doing that?
won't speak for banks. We're not a bank, but we do not have the ability to do that work. So that's why we utilize those free services that are available through the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
So as far as that establishing, here's one thing you'll learn about me is I try to give you kind of the under the hood with banking. And for us, Dun & Bradstreet is important, but we don't establish it for you. It's who you're getting money from. So in the beginning, it's probably your vendors that you may be getting terms from. If you, you have accounts payable and you're working with this vendor, they're giving you a net 30 term. If they decide to report to the Dun & Bradstreet, that will help you. Go ahead.
Okay, I know this very well. So, and that's why I'm asking, because a lot of times lenders are not reporting to Dun & Bradstreet, and it's like a process of going through. I mean, it's extremely tedious to have to follow up with a lender after you're paying them on time and they're not reporting to Dun & Bradstreet. So my thing is, that's another part of my question. What are you guys doing to be intentional about ensuring that you're reporting so that you have a good grade on their business credit report? And it's not easy to get a Dun & Bradstreet number. You actually have to pay for it for the process to move forward. The free 30-day thing, if you miss a phone call, you're done. You have to start over. You don't get a number. Once you pay for it, there's a process, and there's also a financial release form to your banker, where your business bank account is, so that they can have access to validate your bank account and all of your transactions. So as lenders, I really feel like there needs to be some more, just a little bit more intention on ensuring that, one, you're reporting these payments timely, but also if we're giving them the permission for you to access our finances, I just feel like there should be maybe some, this is just my personal opinion, there should be some type of intention, some program to say, hey, yes, you have to establish this on your own, but we want to make sure that you are aware that we are reporting this for you because it's actually going to help you.
Yeah, Tashi, that reminds me of the effort with using rental income, or rental payments to build your personal credit, and so it's that same sort of barrier. I appreciate you calling that out, and I think our panelists will be available after to have more detailed conversations about that, and I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront, because building credit on the business side or on the personal side is a huge barrier and very important, yeah. Okay, we have one more question. I know we're running over, but I do want to get this last question here answered. So Nico, she's way over there in the back.
My name is Sophia, and I'm one of the ARP funding. So I got funding from Brooklyn Park to deliver mental health and addiction in Brooklyn Park. So my question is, does any of the lending offer any 0% interest? That's one of my difficulties.
No, at Brimmer, we don't offer any 0% financing. I think typically you're gonna find that with CDFIs like MEDA or LISC or NDC. The city of Minneapolis, which I kind of know CPID, they have what's called the Commercial Property Development Fund, which is 0% interest, 0 payments over 40 years as long as you meet certain criteria. And I believe Kirk has a similar program as well. But typically banks won't give 0% because we're in the business of earning interest income. So that's why we work with the city through the 2% programs and things of that nature. We kind of partner up to kind of service that debt, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we do not have any programs like that right now that are 0%. We have access to some that may have below market rates, but I think the best thing to do is to work at the very local level to reach out to those and start with your city and possibly county.
I would concur with everything that was said so far. We also do not offer anything that is a 0%. Encourage you to work with your city and your county and some of the organizations mentioned before. And then, banks are able to partner with people like the CMDC and the SBA that sometimes have a little bit more preferential rates, but they're still not 0.
And I know that there are banks that are working towards TRIA compliance as well, and so that's something to explore. As there's still going to be fees associated with it, but it isn't considered interest, and so that's one thing to look at when you're looking at a lender too, if they have TRIA compliance.
I just wanted to quickly go back to your question on the business credit. as a small business, anytime you're asking for, I would say probably $10 million and below, the bank really cares about you personally and your personal credit. So that's gonna be the major key. If you're paying late on your business, that's gonna show up. We're gonna find that information somehow, some way, even if you don't have it Dun & Bradstreet, it'll kind of come up. But if you're paid on time, that's normally fine. We don't need a business credit. We're gonna pay attention to your personal credit. So if that's not intact, then your business credit doesn't matter, because typically a bank is always gonna require a personal guarantee. So hopefully that makes sense.
That's a helpful clarification. Thank you. All right, well, that concludes this portion of the Business Forward Forum. Now we are on, am I queuing up the networking break? All right, now we're on to the networking break, which is one of the more popular parts of our program, in recent history anyway. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, that's a great segue, Tashi. We have Tashi next. And so Tashi is with Elevate Business, which is a Hennepin County sponsored technical assistance program, and it's new. So if you want to come up, and Tashi's going to go through what Elevate Business is and how businesses can access it. Thank you. Sorry about that. That's totally fun. I was off by a little bit.
While my mom is doing that, I don't like to be off. It's too early in the morning, so we gotta do a little icebreaker before I start talking. So I'm just gonna pick somebody and ask a question. You with the blue shirt and the suit over there, what is your name and what's your favorite color?
My name, I'm Roger Bang, I'm with Diversified Plastics. And my favorite color, I think, is blue.
Why is your favorite color blue?
Honestly, don't know. It's just been there.
Well, my favorite color is yellow, and the reason why my favorite color is yellow, because I feel like you can't look at yellow and be sad. So it's always a way to look on the bright side of everything, and that's why that's my favorite color. But thanks for having me here today. My name is Tashi George. I am a senior planning analyst with Hennepin County. Also, primarily my role is mainly the business resource navigator, mainly your computer shut it down. Really supporting the Elevate Business program. So what is Elevate Business? The history behind Elevate Business, it really kind of came together during the pandemic. We had CARES Act dollars and we were given our grant funds, but we also thought about, hey, how do we come up with something that is sustainable and actually bring value to Hennepin County entrepreneurs? So with that, the commissioners and the Business Advisory Council, which consisted of business owners like yourself and leaders in this room, and that's how Elevate Business was developed. While it was developed in its pilot phase, we just kind of contracted with about 20 or so different organizations and consultants and said, hey, you're already providing technical assistance, and you know, this is what you do at your organization. We're gonna contract with you, and we want you to provide these services that you're already offering to businesses for free, up to 25 hours. So that's how that started. But after the pilot, we then came in and wanted to redesign the structure of the program to ensure that we were providing value to Hennepin County entrepreneurs. We got feedback from clients that utilized the program, from our advisors, and just from colleagues and peers like in Brooklyn Park. So I will wait till my presentation gets back up, but mainly that's how the birth of Elevate Business came along. We are currently now in our second phase of our contract, our second contracting period. We started in April. We've contracted with 23 advisors, which consists of community organizations and individual consultants to provide these, I like to call them business professional services. I'm not a big fan of the term technical assistance. I just think it's a little too broad. But we wanted to redesign our program to really speak to these specific services, because we want entrepreneurs to actually stop putting the cart before the horse, building that solid foundation, having the basic skill sets that it needs to run and operate a business, and our vision of just making Hennepin County the best place to do business in the nation, starting with Brooklyn Park. So, I can bring my laptop. So we'll skip to some slides. I think I have some of this memorized, so we'll just keep talking. So what does that mean? Okay, so Elevate Business is actually a curated hub. It's really done through a platform, which is a website called Elevate Business HC. It is a place where business owners can connect with their peers, they can get free advisory service, they can access regional resources throughout the state, and they can also access events and other resources that are available to them. Going back to contracting with the 23 new advisors that we did contract with in April, we really wanted to be intentional about who they were. We wanted our advisors to represent every single diverse background of business owners in Hennepin County. So our advisors are cultural, they have multilingual, and they have a very diverse background for what it is. So with that being said, we wanted to really have some real specific focus areas for Elevate Business. We decided to break out the program into starting out with 5 specific business focus areas, which is business planning, marketing, access to capital, financial management and accountant, and legal. So what does that mean for us? The good thing about these services, they are free to business owners. Up to 25 hours in each service focus area is free, paid for by the county to you as a business owner. So if I am a business owner and I want to come in and say I need a business plan done, I can get up to 25 hours of free services through one of our advisors. If our advisor then says, you know what, I think you need to meet with one of our legal providers because you need to be in compliance, you can then get another 25 hours of service. And then, oh, you know what, I need a website build, I need to develop my brand strategy. You can be referred to a marketing advisor. They will then give you up to another 25 hours of free service. Essentially, you can get up to 125 hours of free business professional services and consulting provided to you by Hennepin County. This is something we are really intentional about, folks knowing about, and really taking advantage of. So, the only thing is a business has to be located in Hennepin County, right? So who do we help? Well, who do we provide these resources to? Really, the goal is from pre-launch all the way up to second stage. So I am someone that bakes cookies in my house, and I realize, you know what, this is time for me, you know, my neighbor says she loves the cookies, so does my kids and my family. I wanna move out of my house, I'm gonna open a bakery, brick and mortar. I have this idea, come into Elevate Business, start with business planning. What is business planning? Business planning really, you'll hear us refer to the term first stop shop, but it's really not the first stop. When it comes to business planning, it's imperative that your business plan is honestly revised at least once a year. Times change, laws change, pandemic happens, you may need to pivot, but we really want folks to be able to come in and say, if you even have a business plan, some folks have been in business without a business plan, but it's really imperative that you have what you're doing down on paper. Really looking at your numbers, understanding projections, and really saying, okay, this is my 3 to 7 year growth plan. So business planning also consists of strategic plans, operational plans, succession planning. What happens to you? Most of the time, we are all wearing 1,800 hats running our businesses. If you get sick today, who's gonna run your business? If you decide, you know what, I wanna retire today, who's gonna run your business? Do you wanna sell it? Do you have family members that are gonna take over it? Are you gonna do an employee to own model? These are all things that a business owner should really have plans for before your doors even open. So really kind of take a look at, like, from where do I start and where do I end? That's really what our business planning advisors do. Another thing is, if we want to talk about legal, we always, I've done it, and I try to learn from my mistake, but we lead with passion as business owners. We have a passion for what we do and the services or the products that we provide. So we often tend to put the cart before the horse, but then a lot of times that is not the the right first step. You know, you wanna make sure that you're within compliance. So our legal providers, which are licensed attorneys, they are there to help with anything from trademarking to lease reviews to contract reviews. I mean, the list goes on, and even setting up your entity in the right way and ensuring that you're within compliance to fully operate. The one thing I will note about our legal providers, they do not go to litigation for business owners, but they will provide all advisory services for free, up to $25 for a business owner in Minnesota. And I can tell you, legal is really expensive, so if you can get that for free, take advantage of it. Finance management and accountant. This is something that I try, once again, I always talk about experience, but we're wearing too many hats. Your books are important. There's a difference between finance management, bookkeeping, accountant, and access to capital. You can't even get access to capital if you don't have your books in order. Understanding your profit and loss statement, understanding your balance sheets, understanding financial projections, account receivables. How is money working for my business? How is it coming in? Knowing the difference between revenue and profit. You can have someone saying, hey, I made $300,000 in revenue, but what? 290 of that gets swallowed into expenses. I mean, really being realistic about where you are when it comes to your numbers is important, and that is why our CPAs and our finance management and accountants are there to help you. Once again, very expensive, for free, up to 25 hours. That's where the value is through the county. I would, access to capital, and I enjoyed the conversation that our panelists just had with us. More often than not, we have folks coming in to the county looking for grants, or how can I get some type of financial support? We're not, as a county, we're not a lending institute, and we don't provide loans or grants anymore. It was just, with the pandemic, it was a one-time thing. But this is a personal thing that I say, it's important for business owners to put themselves in the position where they cannot be told no, right? So our access to capital advisors really help our business owner understand lending terms. Are you even ready personally with your credit? Where are you at? So you don't get turned on what type of loans or what type of grants to apply for. They help them with their proposals. This is what an interest rate means. This is what you're actually paying back. This is how long it's going to take you to pay it back. And really putting themselves in the position, helping our business owner understand what it is that you are getting into. You all know there's a lot of predatory lending going on. A lot of folks are still trying, I know we don't think about the pandemic much anymore because we're not all walking around with masks anymore. But it's still a recovery period. And folks are still struggling to keep their doors open. And our goal is to ensure that they're not getting themselves into a deeper hole than they need to be in. So I value all of our advisors, but I just really love the fact that we have the ability to help entrepreneurs for free, again, really understand what they're getting into before they sign on the dotted line. Last but not least is everyone's favorite part, marketing, right? I come from a marketing background. We love to put up a Facebook page, a website, hey, I'm selling. Who are you selling to? You can't sell to everybody. Why are you selling to them? So our marketing advisors are super just really a bunch of talented folks that help business owners really develop their brand strategies and understand digital marketing, grassroots marketing. Who should I be selling to? How do I bring in revenue into my, how do I make sales? How do I really make sales? I can't sell some red t-shirts to folks that only like blue. So I need to make sure that I understand my target market, and that is what they're there for. Once again, the value of this is that Hennepin County has contracted with 23 different cultural advisors to give this to you for free. So please take advantage of it. It doesn't matter what stage of business you're in, we're here to help. One thing I will add, if you're not sure, if a business owner is not sure, like, who do I go to, I'm available. You can set up time with me. We can, I call it the diagnostic call. We can just sit and chat so I can see where you are, and then I can point you in the right direction. Because the goal is to ensure that you're not wasting your time, and we just want to make sure you get to the right resources, and no one's getting like they're running around. So I think this next slide is really more about our impact that we've had so far. So I'll just talk about our impact that we've had so far. So far we've had over 1,300 businesses actually access our platform. So we've had over this is as of April, when we started our new contracting period. It is a whole lot more. But I can definitely say we've had over 1,000 businesses access technical assistance or professional advisory services through Elevate Business thus far. We've had over 1,300 businesses register on the platform, understanding that the platform has regional resources as well. So if a business is not located in Hennepin County, we have everything that the state has to offer. And I will talk about that. Our bread and butter really has been with Elevate Business, those businesses that have less than 10 employees and under $1 million of revenue. We do have other programs to support businesses that bring in more than that, which is CEO Next and CEO. 49% has identified as non-white that has utilized Elevate Business, women, and 41% identify as women. So it's something that we wanted to point out, that it's been a diverse reach, and we are intentional about that, business owners from all walks of life understand that we're here for them. Leandra. So Leandra actually was one of our business owners. She has a jewelry business that utilized us during our pilot phase, and she was just so excited to just give us a quote about the impact that it's had. We still work with her in different phases, so we just always like to showcase some of the impact that, some of the actual folks that we've worked with. So I just wanted to take a little moment to show our homepage here. So if you ever go onto our website, just so you can know you're in the right place, this is Elevate Business. If you scroll down, you can find an advisor. So clicking that link would allow you to find all of our advisors and look at their card, their as you can see. So as you can see, our advisors, it tells you a little summary of who our advisors are and what services they provide. I want to caveat that these are organizations that are already been in existence and they provide other services, but the 25 hours is only available for what they are contracted with Hennepin County for. And you'll see that on there. If you want, you can click the link, connect with an advisor, and fill out a short intake form that takes no more than 3 minutes. And they will get back to you within 24 hours and just start working with you. Once again, I'm also there if you wanted to connect with me or someone on my team. You can actually connect with the Economic Development Business Navigator. So another thing that we have is the link on the homepage, and we don't have to select everyone, but just like exploring lending options. With that, you don't have to look at that. But with that, this is where we decided to put all of the regional lending resources in one place. One of the things about this platform is, as business owners, once again, your time is limited. You really don't have an hour or two to go searching on different websites to find lending resources or other resources that are available. So we thought it would be best to create a space where you can actually do one click, be able to access these resources. So for instance, if I wanted to look up the Brooklyn Park, they're a small business loan, you can go through our lending options, you put in Brooklyn Park, it'll come up, click the link, it takes you directly to their page where all that information is, and then you can start your process from there. Our event calendars, there are lots and lots and lots of educational networking events on here. You can sign up for them. They're in date order, so you can select events. More regional resources it's just pretty much everything throughout the state. We often, although this is a Hennepin County program, we often find that we get folks outside of Hennepin County, and we're like, going back to, we don't want to say no, we don't have anything for you. No, we do. There are other options. We're there to help you look at the regional resources and see what's available for you in your county or in your city, even though we can't offer the 25 hours of advisory service to you. And last but not least is, you can create your own account, it's just how you can get connected and stay on the Elevate Business platform. So that is the platform. Future services, this is ever growing, and we're once again being intentional about what we want to see happen in Hennepin County for entrepreneurs. Technology advisory services we're working on to come soon. We realized that navigating the web and understanding how to do business in a digital world is not as easy as it seems. And we are looking at building out some programming around teaching folks how to use Office 365, how do you navigate the web, even answering emails, you know, just managing financial softwares. What can we put in place to ensure that our business owners have the basic skills to be sustainable, right? Because it starts with that. You don't have to be an expert, but we need you to, have the basic skills so that you're sustainable. More events and cohort-based learning. We have Activate Network, looking at getting business certified in Hennepin County. And as we gain feedback from folks like you, we're building out these professional advisory services, right? What more can we add to the portfolio to just ensure that you have all of the resources that you need? There are lots of other resources too for businesses besides Elevate Business in Hennepin County. This is my favorite. I love the library, so I'm obsessed with the library. I suffered through the pandemic. But the library actually has like a business librarian, and they can help with pretty much everything, trademark, patents, building out software skills. And they have a really cool short business plan template. I tend to refer a lot of our business owners that come in and say, hey, you don't have to write out your business plan, but how about an outline before you meet with the advisor? That'll help the advisor actually be able to build out your goals a lot easier. So that's there as well. So check out the library, and this all Hennepin County Library across the county. They're there to help. Recycling, save the world, save the trees for your children. But this business recycling grant has been around for quite some time right now. I think it's about $3,000 that's available to businesses. The goal is to help you encourage you to be green and recycle. Grants can be used for expenses such as recycling containers, reusable food supplies if you're in the restaurant industry, and so much more. The goal is just to reduce waste, and that is the goal. And you can get signage and different materials and buttons. So if you're interested, Andre Wang is the manager of that, and get more information on that. This is our newest baby, and I'm extremely excited for all of your construction folks. This is Elevate Business Construction Advising and Training. So if you're a developer or you have a construction business or in that industry, we actually are engaging in emerging contractors, are eligible for the same no-cost one-on-one construction advisory with experts. The goal is to really help build the basic skills around the construction industry, which is a different animal on its own. There's support on construction law, construction project management, construction accountants, safety planning and preparation. We also have construction intensive series coming up, cohort-based learning. That'll be in first quarter of 2023 from January through March. So you're able to register for the entire series, or you can actually look at the course outline and actually pick the ones that you feel would be of most value to you and register for them as well. Last but not least, any questions? I just have to say, we want Hennepin County to honestly be the best place to do business in the nation. And I know it sounds like, wow, that's a huge, goal, but it's obtainable. It's attainable because you always, like I said earlier, our goal is to make sure that entrepreneurs are not moving backwards, they're moving forward. We have passions that we lead with as business owners, and we want to see everything happen overnight. But at the end of the day, like with any house that you build, you have to build a solid foundation, and that's what the Elevate Business brand is about. So thank you for having me, and I am open to any questions.
Just one, is the 25 hours per area lifetime?
No, so it's due the duration of your service. So if you're coming in, you can get 25 hours in each area and then you're referred to another person. If there have been, and I will say this, there have been circumstances, depending upon the type of business, where there needs to be extensions, but we have a few, they're far and few, so. 100, up to 125 hours of free services has kind of been like, I honestly haven't seen anyone use all 125 hours since I've been there, but, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other
Does
questions?
do you have somebody in taxation where they, they file your books and do your taxes and update your tax information?
We don't do, our accountants don't do taxes, but our financial management advisors, they will help you with your books. We have bookkeepers, we have CPAs that will sit you down and go through your books and help you set up your books and understand. So for instance, if you're using QuickBooks, there's folks there that are there to help you understand everything from A to Z to make sure you're set up in the right place. The goal is to ensure you and equip a business owner with the skills that they need. We want you to be able to look at your books and know what's happening. Not, we don't want you to be in a place where you're continuously asking. It's here to educate and train. Yes.
I'm in a building where the landlord does not do recycling, and how would you help? I personally take my recycle home.
Wow.
So how would you help pitch that recycling grant to them?
We don't need to pitch a recycling grant to them, we pitch the recycling grant to you. So we can come and pick up your, they actually can come and pick up your recycling. And I have additional information on that. We can bring you bins, we can make sure they're set up. And by the way, thank you for recycling, it's really, really, really important. So I have more information, and we can, and if you want, you can give us your landlord's phone number, information, if you want us to connect with them.
Yes.
Or you can tell them about it, and say, hey, what, Hennepin County has this program that could be really resourceful for the entire building. And this is how we get the word out, this is how we get the message across, so yes.
Well done.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for having me, and I'll be right there. I have some flyers, and if you want to set up some time, you can email me, tashi.george@hennepin.us, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tashi. And at this point, we will go into the networking session that Brianne so excitedly described. Please feel free to stop by some of the vendor tables to learn more about the services from Brooklyn, Metro North, and MCCD, along with Elevate Business. Help yourself to any more coffee. And I believe they just brought out a few pastries as well. So, thank you, and I will give you guys a 5-minute warning when we'll get back into our presentations.
So you mean it gets even
All right, everyone, if you can return to your seats, we will now have our next presenter, Commissioner Jeffrey.
We'll go ahead and get started. Anytime. Well, it wouldn't be a speech at Edinburgh if the AV wasn't working right. So nothing's changed in that regard. So my name is Jeff Lundy, County Commissioner of District 1, which includes Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Osseo, Crystal, Newholt, and Robbinsdale. Former mayor of Brooklyn Park, and I was very happy not to be up for election last night, which meant I don't have any signs to clean up today, which is really awesome. That's the one thing that if you're a candidate, you put up lots of signs, is you get about 2 days of patience before people start sending you messages. Are you gonna pick up your signs? So I'm just here to talk a little bit about the county. You've got the All-Star with Takesha George here, so that's the real bread and butter of the county, is hiring good staff, making sure they have programs that are funded, and let them do good work. And so that's what we concentrate on. And the commissioner is more policy-based, so we kind of outline the parameters. So one of the things that we did do, which is up here, which is Community Investment Initiative, which is about trying to provide money for incubation, trying to put money into communities affected by the pandemic. And also, part of it is, the weird thing is, as mayor, we just have Brooklyn Park. As a commissioner, we have 1.4 million people. We have the entire county. And yes, I do look at, when we do disbursements, I track to see how much did my district get, because that's old habit, right? I want to make sure my district gets $1 more than it's supposed to. So we came up with a CII program using ARPA money to try to invest in that. And what our investment wanted to be was something that would be sustainable. So not just handing out grants, but trying to put money where we knew that it would continue to provide dividends. And so we think we hit it in the mark on a couple of things by partnership. So we invested part of that money into Brooklyn Center, $750,000 into their incubators. So we think that money helps build a building and provides a startup so that 10 years from now, that'll still be in place providing benefits. So it's not just one-time money. We think that the benefits are really spread out. And of course, Hennepin County supporting Brooklyn Park, providing $500,000 for their good work that they're doing at their incubation site. Again, the idea is we want to foster businesses to start, to grow, to expand, and we know we can do that if we provide good technical assistance. We provide a place for people to have resources, because there's always, I worked in business, a company grows to a certain point and it plateaus. And then it needs to do some different things to keep growing, and you hit these mile marks, and sometimes they hit a mile mark and they expand, and they don't have the revenue to keep up with the debt they've acquired, and they fail. You would not believe, I was at companies managed by professionals. We had $100 million, we wanted to get to $250 million. We made a bunch of investments. 2 years later, the company was out of business and bought out because we had too much debt and our revenue didn't match our projections. So we're happy to continue to support that. We will still provide as much assistance as we can to the cities. I think the cities have good partners in Acer and Viva, but we'll do everything we can to continue to put that out there. One thing, I'll back up here. So, go back one more. So what happens to give me a clicker now, I can just go back and forth. Commissioner Fernando and I, Commissioner Fernando's District 2, which is North Minneapolis, Golden Valley, parts of Plymouth, out in Medicine Lake. We're working on adding more funding to this fund in tune of $1 million and expanding out a year. It'll be focused on the light rail line, so blue line, so that we can try to look at, we know that displacement and can hit people, and so we need to put more money, because it is about money. If you're displaced, it's probably because your rent's too high. If you're affected by construction, it comes down to cash. I need to pay my bills. My customers can't get to my site. What am I gonna do? You're just trying to survive past construction. So that is a proposal. It hasn't been adopted yet. Commissioner amendments are kind of like 7 commissioners get together around a table and all try to figure out which goodies they can negotiate. And it's kind of our one chance to really do something very specific. So we're gonna try to invest money into this fund, but it'll be really directed. Remember I said we have 1.4 million? This investment would actually be really based on people along the light line. So Brooklyn Park, Crystal, Robbinsdale, and North Minneapolis. So it'll be very specific. Fund has not passed yet, but I'm hopeful. A couple other things, we have been working quite closely, and I want to thank the staff, and I want to thank the residents and businesses who have taken part. Anti-displacement, I believe fully in the investment that will become in the form of light rail. I know that can be changing. I know that our district, my district, the North Metro, has some of the most glaring disparities. And one of the ways that you can help that is by providing affordable transit. Transit, if I may put my old mayor hat on, if you look up and down on 610, a lot of those companies, especially international companies, invested in Brooklyn Park because they wanted to be where there was roads and rail, because that's what is done in the rest of the world. So if you see a lot of international companies on 610 along the light rail line, it's not by accident. They want to be on a transit line. Internationally, transit means roads, but more so buses and rail. And so we think this is a good development. We also know displacement can move people out. And I don't mean because we take a building down, but because rent gets expensive. If we do a really good job, there will be things coming in. It becomes hard for small businesses to stay in the existing space. So we're trying to find out ways that we can invest. And we're kind of coming around to a model that looks a lot like affordable housing, where a developer may build 200 units, 40 of the units or 60 of the units may be geared for affordable. We can do the same thing with businesses. We could take a site that has 10 spaces for businesses and invest in it so that 4 of them have to be kept affordable using that same model. So we're looking for different ways. There's a link on here, anti-displacement. This is available to anybody. It's not, if you have opinions, if you're thinking about expanding, if you're in the zone. We're also hopeful that the federal government does have resources that we can use for anti-displacement. And I know earmarks can be a bad word when you think about federal, but when you're trying to get money out of the feds and they can't agree on anything, earmarks are a great way to get money back. And so we're gonna try to do what we can to bring money here. Because guess what? Minnesota pays more money than we get out of the feds. So any dollar we get back is just something back to us. So lots of work to come out there. I would expect to give you an update on light rail, that by next fall we might be getting to municipal consent, which is the part where the cities kind of weigh in and things continue to move forward. But I think things are in a good place. I think things in North Minneapolis are in a good place. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of decisions left to be made, but I don't feel like we've got a problem. We don't have a railroad to deal with. It takes a lot of our headache right out the thing, and then the road is all owned by the county. We can argue with ourselves. Before questions, a couple things I'll mention. Yesterday, the board did approve an initiative by my office called, is anybody familiar with the organization nationally? It's called Kaboom. If I had a bunch of Rec and Park people in here, they'd be raising their hands. So Kaboom is a national organization that brings resources to bear on underserved communities. We are going to look at establishing a partnership with them for the entire county. And what they do is they will do an environmental scan across the entire county, not just Minneapolis, not just Brooklyn Park, but everywhere, Corcoran, Mound. We're unique in a county in that we have urban and rural all in one county. And so what they'll do is work to find out how do people feel about what's around them. Second stage is they will work with community groups to come up with plans to bring play. Anybody have kids here? Ever had to bring them somewhere where there's nothing for them to do, and for the love of God, can you just please be quiet? Right? Okay, so think of that. Where are those places at often? Transit centers? Supermarkets? Shopping? Right? And so the idea behind Kaboom is that we bring places to play where people are, not to parks, but to where they are. So an example might be if you go to a light rail station in Crystal, there may be art there, there may be things for kids to do. When there are good things to do, people who have nothing good to do tend not to show up. So we think that's one of the models. So you'll be hearing more about it, but the reason I mention it is in phase 2, as we're helping community groups pull together this model of what they'd like to see in their places to play, is there'll be people raising money. Kaboom does the fundraising. Our fund goal is about $3 million, and that will be done through corporate, philanthropic, nonprofits, donations that will then be made available. That's how it gets funded, is they do the fundraising. And so there's some really good data that shows if you do stuff, you measure it before, you do stuff, and then you measure it again, and that's what Kaboom will do. They'll actually prove that. So the last thing I'll say on that is as we enter winter, things get a little depressing. I mean, rain is one thing, add snow to this mix, right? Imagine, think about the day that you walk outside and it's the first sunny day, it's 50, everything is melting, maybe there's some birds, maybe you see some buds, and how do you feel? I'd say pretty good, right? That's the effect that the environment can have on people. So for some youth and some people, when they walk outside, they see empty lot where something burned down. There's a place where they go to the stop for their bus stop and there's needles on the ground. There's all kinds of negative stuff. That is the opposite of a good feeling. And so we think that if you're bringing places to play, you can actually help people's mental health. And that's one of the things the county does, is we are a social organization, provide social services. And we have a lot of people in need because of COVID. I think there's a lot of people who recognize that. And so we're hopeful that this endeavor will get there, but I'll stop there. I'm looking for Malcolm. I haven't seen the hook yet, but any questions?
I was wondering, thank you. How do we have access to this specific program that you're talking about if we live within these Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center? How do we get access to these information that you provide? Do we contact the office, or is there a specific area where we can go, like we're talking about the Hennepin County grant and these things? You know, sometimes people talk about all these different things, but it's not coordinated where you can go and get all the information in one place. You have to go from different district to district, and sometimes when you're in business, it can get kind of exhausting to do all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exhausting, right?
Yeah.
I would say the best place to start is with the Brooklyn Park Community Development Team. They will have access to resources that are city, and they'll know about the county resources. You heard Ms. George speak here about their contact. The best answer I could get is if you start with Kim's team and all of the people who are working with community development, with that incubator that's coming up, we're gonna focus everything there so that you have one place to go. The Elevate Business Program that you just represented, if you get involved with that, you're gonna get exposed to all the places that the county has resources. So you're right, it can be confusing, but I think if I had to say, here's where you should go, you can do that as well. There's also nonprofit partners, LIBA, Acer, that do support for small businesses as well. So I don't know if I answered your question. I gave you 7 different places to go. But I think if I was gonna send you to one place, this is being hosted by Brooklyn Park.
Right.
You can start right there, and I guarantee they will have access to all the information. And if they can't do it, they will know where to send you so that you can start with one place.
Are there any more questions?
I'll leave with some really great news. No more campaign ads.